Thank you, Rick. That was beautiful. Appreciate your music. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome. On this beautiful day, which is going to turn really hot in about 3 hours. At least we can have the doors open now, which is really great. This morning, Doug will be speaking, and we have Cliff Beach as our special musician, and of course, Rick on the piano. So if you please turn off your cell phones, or at least mute them. We don't have all kinds of fancy rock and roll music going while Doug is speaking. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is the mic, can everyone hear pretty good?
Oh, yeah.
Good, good. I want to invite those that are here, and of course, those that are joining us from the internet. Thank you. Thank you for the privilege of coming to your home today. We appreciate that. As I often like to start some of our services, I like to start just with a little lightness, you know? And I ran across, and this will probably be the last week I do this, but I ran across where some church women had written the bulletins for the coming week. And for some reason, they just are so funny to me. And I just want to share 3 or 4 of them with you. This being Easter Sunday, we'll ask Mrs. Lewis to come forward and lay an egg on the altar. The over 60s choir will disband for the summer with the thanks of the entire church. Remember in prayer the many who are sick of our church and our community. This is a good one. The missionary from Africa will be speaking at the First Methodist Church. Her name is Bertha Belch. Come this Wednesday to hear Bertha Belch from Africa. And this is for Rick. Our hymn today is Crown Him with Many Cows. And my favorite of them all. Wednesday, the Ladies' Aid Society will meet and Mrs. Johnson will sing Put Me in My Little Bed, accompanied by the minister. Well, I laugh at them anyway. You know, now's the time that we do a Bible verse or we do a God moment. And I was struck this week with something Ralph Waldo Emerson had written. He said, write on your heart that every day is the best day. Now I know we wake up in the morning and not every day do we think is the best day for us. But I beg to differ. You know, we live in a wonderful valley here. We get to enjoy the different seasons. We're halfway through the summer now. We've got fall coming up. We've got the glorious times of winter. Oh, indeed, every day is the best day of the year. And Emerson also wrote his daughter while she was away at school, and he said, finish the day. Let it be over with. I know you might have made some blunders, but tomorrow is a new day, the best day. It holds all the promises, doesn't it? It holds everything that we're looking forward to, all the hope. Every day is a best day of the year. They asked this 94-year-old woman, what is her secret to living so long and so being so happy? She was always so happy. And she said, I wake up each morning and go, God, thank you for this new day, the best day of the year. And I'm going to tell you, my friends, if a 94-year-old woman can wake up and do that, we need to do the same thing. Today is the best day of the year. Thank you. Now's the time. If you know our orders of service, and you can see it on the board behind me, on the wall behind me, please recite after me our statement of being. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
magic glass here. My magic glasses. Put your hand in the hand of a man that stilled the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man that calmed the sea. Just take a look at yourself. You can look at others differently. Just put your hand in the hand of a man from Galilee. Every time I look to the holy book, I wanna tremble. When I read about the part where the carpenter cleared the temple, you know the buyers and the sellers, they weren't no different fellas than what I profess to be. And it causes me shame to know we're not the people that we should be. You gotta put your hand into the hand of the man that stilled the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man that calmed the sea. Take a look at yourself. You can look at others differently. You gotta put your hand in the hand of a man from Galilee. Mama taught me how to pray before I reached the age of 7. When I'm down on my knees, you know that when I'm close to heaven, the daddy lived his life, 2 kids and a wife, and you do what you must do. But it should be enough of what it takes to get you through. So put your hand in the hand of a man that stilled the water. Put your hand in the hand of the man that calmed the sea. Take a look at yourself. You can look at others differently by putting your hand in the hand of the man from Galilee. Put your hand in the hand of
Now it's the time in our service, and I invite you, this is our individual time to go within. Very important time. And if you're at home on the internet, oh, we invite you to just quiet down. It's a time to relax your shoulders and relax the tenseness in your back, in your face, in your neck. We have a tendency to carry so much around, do we not? Father, Mother God, and I want to ask you for just a moment if you'll visualize with me. Just visualize what I saw this past week. I was like 5:30, 5:40 in the morning driving. And over to my right, I saw just the pink, the very hint of the sunrise. Oh, it wasn't a bright light. It was just the very beginning of the pink shining on the clouds. And that continued for about halfway in my vision. And then, amazingly, contrastingly, on the left, was fog rising from the ground, the darkness over on my left, and the clouds rolling as if it was going to thunder. And I thought, what a contrast in life. And then it came to me that each had their own beauty. Oh, we're used to look into the sunrise and go, oh, how beautiful, God, another day, the best day of the year. But also those clouds, that fog rolling in, was just as beautiful. You see, God, we know that our lives are contrasted. We know we go through some of the mundane tasks we do. Oh, we grocery shop, go to school, talk to people, say hi to people we really don't even want to sometimes. We go to work if we can. And then those glorious moments, Father, Mother God, where we get to sit in prayer with you and to give thanks for all that we've been given. All the joys, the happiness, the love. Father, we are encompassed by so much beauty. Thank you, Father, for the mundane times and for the times that lift our hearts. Now in these next 90 seconds, I invite you to go deeper, to share your cares, concerns, joys with our Father, beginning now. Father, Mother God, I hope our hearts have been uplifted. I'm sure our souls have been replenished, recharged. May the peace of God surround you, the peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace we carry forward into the world. And it is so. Amen. Now, behind me you can see our Lord's Prayer that we say here. If you recite with me. Our Father who is everywhere, your name is sacred. Your kingdom is come. Your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread day to day, and you forgive us our offenses as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not into materialism, but you separate us from error. Because yours are the kingdom, power, and the song and praise from our wages throughout our wages, sealed in faith, trust, and truth. Amen. June 26th, what happened? Well, we had Chris Cassidy, an Australian astronaut, who was leaving the International Space Station. And as he was going out of the hatch to make a spacewalk to work on the batteries, he lost a mirror that was on his wrist. They wear a mirror on the right wrist and on their left wrist to help them see around their helmets because their helmets are so cumbersome. So as he was stepping out of the hatch, he lost his mirror. It's gone to space. And it reminded me of things we lost and found. Lost and found. And I thought, does God ever lose us? Does God ever lose us? And we're going to answer that question today once and for all, so we will all know the answer. If they ask you on the street, does God ever lose you? We'll know the answer. And we're going to start it off a little different today. I'm not going to start off right with a Bible verse or Bible story. We're going to start with a lost and found. April 14th, 1912. Well, some of you are going, somehow that date sounds familiar. April 14th, 1912. The Titanic. She sank. She sank on the April 15th, that next day. 2,224 supposed passengers and crew. They don't know for sure. The manifest wasn't complete. Over 1,500 perished. They're not for sure. But if you do the math on that, it's 67% perished. There was a man, his name is Wallace Henry Hartley. Wallace was 33 years old as he perished on the Titanic. Now, what about Wallace? Well, he grew up in Yorkshire, England. His father was a choir master. His father introduced the choir, or introduced the congregation to Nearer My God to Thee, that song first. Nearer My God to Thee. Well, Wallace, his family wanted him to go into the banking business, and he studied that and so forth, and he went in, he was a banker for a while. But that wasn't his calling. He wanted to play music and be in a band, play the violin. He was very good at that. He was taught that when he was in his father's church. Well, so he quit banking and he formed a band, and he went to sea with another shipping line, and he would play for the passengers. And shortly before his voyage on the Titanic, he got engaged to Maria Robinson. Now, I've seen pictures of Maria, and I hate to say that She's absolutely no beauty whatsoever. But I want you to know something about it. There are some deep, deep things about Maria. You know, as we get older and we mature a little bit, you know, the face doesn't look as good as it used to when we were younger. And, you know, we start looking at other attributes besides the outer beauty. We look for that inner beauty. You know, as we mature a little bit, oh, let me tell you, Maria was loaded with that inner beauty. She just had tons of it. She presented to Wallace on their engagement, she presented a violin to him. And they say it wasn't that great a violin. It was factory made, middle of the road, made about 1890. But it was good enough that he could play in an orchestra, in a band. Quality enough, but it wasn't, you know, a top-notch piece. And on it she had engraved in a silver plate and attached to the violin, it says, "To Wallace, on the occasion of our engagement, from Maria." Affixed right on the violin. Well, he went off on they invited him to put together a band and to play on this particular voyage. And he thought, well, I really don't want to leave my beloved Maria, but it'll be a chance for me to maybe make some contacts and maybe we can improve our lot in life. So he gathered together 8 other or 7 other members and off they went to play on the Titanic. Well, on that fateful night, April the 14th, after they hit the iceberg, they started playing the violin. They thought, well, we'll play music to keep people occupied. They really didn't know that they were in that much trouble at that point. And as the people were putting on their life jackets and going upstairs and on the deck looking at, they saw all the stars. It was a beautiful evening. And they say the seas were calm, just dead calm. Today we know the reason why. When there's an iceberg around, the seas are calm. They did not know that then. But they said the calmness was just eerie. And people were on the upper deck, and they were laughing and having a good time and frolicking about and talking to each other. It was fun at first. And Wallace was playing, and they were playing sort of jazz music at first. And then people became frightened after they realized what was happening. No, they were rushing to lifeboats trying to get off. Wallace got his men together, his band together, and said, we're going to keep playing. We're going to play through the whole thing. They played for 2 hours and 40 minutes as the ship was sinking. One of the survivors looked back and said, where did you last see the band? Where did you last see? He said, 5 of them had already washed overboard. But I saw Wallace at the major staircase holding on. One of the last songs they played was Nearer My God to Thee. Wallace, before the waves came and took him overboard, he took that violin and took that violin case and lashed it to his body. And as the waves came and the ship sank, he went down with it, with that violin and the violin case lashed to his body. Well, he didn't make it. Oh, a vessel came and tried to save many people. And they went back out after not rescue anymore, recovery, days and days later. 10 days later, Wallace's body was recovered from that North Atlantic Sea. They took him, his body, they took it and presented it back to his father in Yorkshire, England. And they found the violin, and 3 months later they presented it to Maria. She wrote a thank you note. They have that on record. Well, Maria never married. Never married. That was her soulmate. Wallace played for 2 hours and 40 minutes to keep the passengers calm, these 8 members of the band. His was the only body recovered from the band. When he was buried in Yorkshire, England, it was 1,000 people attended his funeral. Over 30,000 to 40,000 estimated lined the procession. And it went down in the annals of sea history as one of the bravest acts of heroism anyone's ever seen. Not guns and bullets and bombs, but playing the violin. One of the biggest, largest acts of heroism ever in the seafarer. Well, the violin was lost to society, lost to history. Maria, she had the violin and she put it in her attic, and then after she died, someone else had it. One of her kin got it, and then they gave it to the Salvation Army so they could use it. And then it disappeared for like 94 years. And then it turned up in 2006. It still had that silver inscription on it. To Wallace, on the occasion of our engagement, Maria. This man who found it took it to an auction house in England, Aldrich and Company, Aldrich Auctioneers. They spent years and a lot of money getting it authenticated. They had it under a CAT scan to make sure that the glue would have been the kind that would have withstood the cold temperatures. They looked at the silver engraving to make sure it came from that era, 1910, 1912. The violin had a crack down the middle, 2 strings are missing. 2013, there was an auction of some of the Titanic artifacts. It had been lost and now found. 2013, there was an auction. Aldrich auctioned it. Now, some of the pocket watches went for like $100,000, and maybe they even had a picture of the actual iceberg. They had the red paint from when the ship had hit it. That went for over $100,000. Some keys that had belonged to some of the watchtower people went for $50,000, $60,000. This violin, because of the story behind it, the love behind it, sold for $1.7 million. Lost and found. It's going to be in Tennessee Museum, Tennessee Forge, until December 2020 on exhibit, if you want to go look at it. Lost and found. And I was thinking, well, now how does that apply to this subject I want to talk about with God? How does that apply? And I can find no better examples than in Luke 15. Jesus is preaching to people, he's eating with people, he's around people, and these are people like you and me. They call them the sinners, the tax collectors, just the regular old people, you and I. And Jesus is surrounding himself with you and I's. And the Pharisees and the religious personnel, the educated ones are going, why are you doing that? Why are you with these people? You're so much better than that. Why are you spending time with these people? And Jesus gives these 3 parables. I think we ought to teach in school, we ought to teach parables sometimes. 3 parables. Remember the one about the lost sheep? Man had 100 sheep. He's got 99 left. One wandered off. And the man left what he was doing and went after, searched to find that lost sheep. When he found it, he put it on his shoulders. He was so happy, took it back. And they rejoiced, and he called his neighbors, and everyone rejoiced. My sheep is back. Does God lose track of us? Let me look at that a little differently here. Did you notice that the man, the shepherd, God, didn't go anywhere? The shepherd is right there. The sheep, you and I, wandered off. Did you notice that? The shepherd's right there, but we wandered off. And we do that sometimes, don't we? I mean, we're so busy in life. I don't have time to hardly come to church anymore. Do you? I mean, church is for kids, isn't it? We don't have time for that. You know, I work all week. Y'all do too. Saturday comes, you're mowing the grass. Then Sunday comes, do you have time for church? I mean, really, come on, Doug. Do you have time for church? Oh, we as a family, we take the kids to church, but that's child stuff. We and the missus, we stay at home. I've got my lesson plans for the week coming up. I don't have time for church. We have left the fold. God didn't leave us. The shepherd didn't leave the sheep. Let's go to the second parable. The woman with the 10 coins, the 10 silver coins. She lost one. And what did she do? She lost one. She turned the light on, took a broom out, started sweeping, searched everywhere until she found the coin. Then she was so happy she invited her neighbors over. I found the coin. Everything is okay. We're rejoicing. Let's look at that. That's a really interesting one. Let's look at that close. I looked at this close and I did a little research. When Jewish women would marry years ago, they would wear a headband during the ceremony and during some of the weddings, wedding ceremony and during some of the reception. It was 10 coins. What would you do if you lost one coin? What was the way that you showed that you were married? It's like using your wedding ring or engagement ring. What did she do? She had to find this coin. And she had to prove to her betrothed that she was indeed married to all the other people. What would you do? She did these 3 things. She turned the light on. She turned the light on. Well, I want you to know at that time, to turn the oil lamp on, or light, was not an easy task. It was expensive to burn the oil up. Oh, I know the olive oil was plentiful at the time. The olive oils were, or the olives were, and they pressed them in that time and era. They even had little factories. It was expensive still. You just didn't waste the oil turning it on. She turned the oil lamp on and looked about. That's what God does to our lives. He's like that light that shines within us. That's what God is to us. He's that light that directs our lives, that we are attracted to, like a moth to a flame. What did she do next? She took the broom out, swept the inhabitant. She wanted to find out if she could find it there. Reminds me how God works in your life. You know, if you come to this church enough, if you listen to the messages of Dr. Marita, Reverend Melanie, if you come to this church enough, you'll realize that you have been changed. You've been swept in some way. You've been taken up. And you didn't even try to. At one point you might have used profanity in your speech. You might have had a bad attitude. Might not have accepted people so easy. If you come to this church, God slowly sweeps your life a little cleaner. Slowly sweeps it cleaner. And you didn't even try. What's the third thing that she did? She searched the premises. She put out a search. I've lost that coin. I need to find it. It reminds me, Matthew 7. Knock on the door and it'll be opened. Seek and ye shall find. You know, if we had been like that sheep and left, all we've got to do is gently knock. God's there. The door will be open. Seek and ye shall find. God didn't go anywhere. And at each crossroads in this was celebratory. Let's look at the third parable. This is the son who took all his inheritance and said, you know, Dad, I've had enough of this small town. I've had enough of all this. I want to go to Vegas. He didn't really go to Vegas, but I want to go spend my inheritance. I want to live it up a little. So his father said, okay, son. So they split the inheritance with his other brother. And off the young man went into the world. Well, it wasn't everything he thought. There became a famine in that area that he went to. And he ended up having to follow the pigs as they went around eating to find enough to eat. And then he thought to himself, why am I doing this? Why am I suffering so when all I've got to do is go back to my father? And he even feeds the helpers better than I'm eating now. I will go back to my father. Back to God. Do you see? I'm going back to my father. And as he was approaching his father's household, his father saw him, ran to meet him, greeted him with love, and said to one of his helpers, get him the finest robe, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. My son is home. My son is home. Well, the other brother didn't particularly like this. Dad, I stayed here all the time with you. Why are you doing this? He said, my son is home. My son is home. God wants us in the fold. God welcomes us in the fold. So we saw the three parables. I want to share a story with you. And we're telling you from the perspective of the employer to employee. The employer runs a truck stop. And he got a call from a placement advisor. And she said, can you place this particular person on your staff, maybe as a busboy? And he thought, oh man, I really don't want to do that. You see, she wanted to place a Down syndrome 20-year-old. And he thought to himself, I really don't want to do that. I've never really had anyone working for me quite that challenged. He said, okay, I'll give it a shot. He was worried how his customers would accept him, the truck drivers. And he was worried about them. But then he thought, the truck drivers, all they care about is meatloaf and a homemade pie. Then he thought about, well, what about the businessmen that come? The ones on the expense accounts. He thought, well, all they're interested in is they think every waitress wants to be flirted with. And he thought, who's going to give me the most trouble are those young college kids that come through here on the way to and from school with their fancy cars, and they stop here and act like they're too good to eat with us. But I'll go ahead and hire this young man. He said he came, he met him, had the facial features and the thick tongue talk of a Down syndrome person. And he said he was unsure about all this, but after 1 week, he said all his cares and concerns went away. He said Stevie had everyone wrapped around his little finger. The truck drivers loved him. They laughed at him and laughed with him and told him jokes. He said the only problem I had with Stevie being a busboy was that he would hardly finish eating before he ran and cleaned the table up with such gusto. And everything was just as it should be. The water glass was just clean. The salt and pepper shaker were just there. And the Texas Pete was right where it should be. We had to slow him down sometimes. Stevie. And then I found out that Stevie lived about 2 miles from here, and his mother they lived on Social Security. And this job meant a lot to the household. So I was glad I hired him. And some time went by, months. And then we heard from this case advisor that Stevie had to have a heart operation. It seems that Down syndrome children, adults, have heart issues. So Stevie had to undergo a heart procedure. And he was gone. In his absence, the waitresses took care of busboying their own tables and so forth, and while he was having this surgery and so forth. And on that day, he wasn't there, and the trucker sort of looked around and asked where he was, and Franny, the head waitress, she told him, well, Stevie's having an operation. She explained it to him, and there was a table of 3 of them. They all went, oh, okay. And after they left, Franny came up to me later in the day, and she came and she said, boss, look at this. And I said, what? And she had a napkin in her hand. She turned it over, and it said, written on it, said, this is for Stevie. And it was a $20 bill. And then another napkin, this is for Stevie, another 20. This is for Stevie, and another 20. She said, truckers. Well, we missed Stevie. We had to wait almost till Thanksgiving before he showed back up. We got a call from his mother, said, Stevie's coming back. He's okay now. He rehabilitated. He was off about 6 weeks. Well, that last week before he came, he called. Must have called 10 times. But we all wanted Stevie back. And when he came back that day, his mother was with him, and I had his apron over here on the side, and as he came in, I gave him his apron. And I said to his mother and to he, y'all come with me, you're going to eat breakfast on me today. And we took him to a little dining area that we have. We had breakfast for him. And then after that, I opened up the wide area of the dining room. There were all the dirty dishes and dirty tables from that day. And I sternly looked at Stevie and said, Stevie, clean them up. I did it as sternly as I could. Stevie smiled. And he started cleaning up the tables, fussing like he does. Picking up a napkin, and there would be a $100 bill. Picking up another napkin, a $50 bill. Another 50, another 20, and it went like that throughout the whole dining area. He collected $10,000 that morning to help that family. The best employee I ever had, Stevie. we ever lost from God? No. If anyone asks you, the answer is no. As long as we have in our heart to treat others like they treated Stevie. As long as we have that in our hearts and in our speaking, we are never lost from God. And as we celebrate, just as they did in the parables, God is omnipresent. And we celebrate that here at Valley Community Church. Will you go within with me now? God, I hope I have a heart like a truck driver. Thank you for the individual blessings. Thank you that we can never escape you, Father. That we are always welcome. All we need to do is knock and the door is open. Seek and you shall find. Thank you, Father, for sweeping through our lives, changing us, making us who we were meant to be all along. And it is in Christ's nature. Amen.
There's a long line train coming down the line, feeding off the souls that are lost and cry. Rails are sanding on the evil remains. Watch out, brother, for that long black train. You can look to the heavens, you can look to the sky. You can find redemption staring back into your eyes. There is protection and there's peace to say. Watch out, brother, for that long black train. 'Cause there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name. Don't go riding on that long black train. There's an engineer on that long black train, making you wonder if the ride is worth the pain. He's just waiting on your heart to say, let me ride on that long black train. Still there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name. Don't go riding on that long black train. I can hear the whistle from a mile away. Sounds so good, but I must stay away. That train is a beauty, making everybody stare. But its only destination is the middle of nowhere. You know there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory riding on that long black train. Said cling to the Father in His holy name. Don't go riding on that long black train.
Now is the time out of service where we have the blessings of the gifts. This is the time where we give back to the church with our blessings that we've received, with our time, talents, and treasures. Will you say with me now, it's on the board behind me. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent, blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God. Now Jan's going to come up and make a few announcements, and maybe perhaps Dr. Wiggins might have some.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, thank everybody for being here again this morning and for putting up with, I know it gets a little warm in here with the doors open, but we're trying to do the best we can with what we're supposed to be doing. And thank everybody for wearing their mask. Really do appreciate that. Nobody has given us a hard time about that. So we really do appreciate all that you do to help us out here and for being here this morning. And that being said, I know that there are some people that still can't come because they feel uncomfortable, and that's perfectly all right. But I do ask that you maybe send these people a card or give them a call. I know EJ called the other day, and she is, as you know, at Pheasant Ridge, and she's pretty much in lockdown in her room. And so, you know, a card or a call, sometimes it's hard to get a hold of her, but a card would certainly be appreciated. And there's lots of others, there's Rachel and Lee and others, and Sylvia that can't come out right now. So just keep these people in mind, and it's nice for them to know that somebody other than me is calling them and checking on them. So just do that. Keep in mind that there are other people that want to be here, but they feel uncomfortable, and I certainly understand that. So just wanted to pass that along. Also, the flowers today are sponsored by Judy in memory of her father. I'll get them. Judy will be at class tomorrow night, so she can get them then. So, do you have anything to say about your class other than it's going to 6:30 tomorrow night? Okay. Alrighty. And Pam has her journaling class on Tuesday at 6:30, and Marita's reading class Wednesday at 5, and we have coffee at 6. And so that first off, I want to say, when you leave today, as we said before you go out the side door, the prayer basket is over here. It is full of slips. People tend, I guess, since we're not passing it around, forget to pick them up. So pick up more than one name if you don't mind, and pray for these people. Also, the blessing gifts is also, basket is also over here, so you can put your gifts in there as you leave. And if you have any prayer requests, if you didn't put them in the prayer basket, you can also put them in the blessing basket, and we'll pick those up as we leave today. Also, our parking lot is in bad shape, and I know that we do not have money, and will not have money for a while, to redo it like we would like to have. And Jerry has been taking care of doing the killing of the weeds and everything. But Rick made a suggestion this morning, so he said maybe we could have a parking lot party and get the weeds killed and then patch up some of the places along the way for the time being. So that's going to be something we'll work on. Thank you for that suggestion, and so we'll have that come along maybe when it gets not quite as hot as it is, because I know most people don't like the heat. But so any other suggestions that people have, we're willing. That's going to be a big fundraiser to try to get money to take care of the parking lot. But that is something that's on our list to do in the future. But I know with the COVID-19, everything's kind of been put on hold. But we do still have the store. Martha's been getting things from her sister and other people, and she switches things out in that store. So people are still buying, so help yourself in there. So, let's see. I wanted to pass this on. I know that there's a lot of things going on in protest and so forth. And so this has been, lots of things been on my mind. But starting this Friday, I'm going to start showing some movies to hopefully, and they suggested, gave me this one movie at work, they suggested that we do some of these things to hopefully help people understand more about our neighbors, whether they be black or gay or whatever, because people tend to listen to the news and then they tend to forget about things. And I know we have a lot of black friends, and I know they've been going through hard times. And so I'm going to start with this one called Just Mercy, and it's about a lawyer in Alabama that, and it's based on a true story, that all the stuff he had to go through to get this gentleman free that was in jail for, and he was innocent. But I want to start Friday night with that movie, and then hopefully every Friday night for a while we're going to show different movies from different minorities, and hopefully people will get a better understanding of their fellow man. So anyhow, I encourage you to come out. It'll be at 7 o'clock. I'm going to do it at 7 o'clock. I'll give people time that work to get here and have their dinner or whatever. So put our new TV to use. So did y'all enjoy that the other night with your video? Okay, cool. All right, did you have anything, Maria?
No.
Okay. Have you found out anything about the conference yet? Any news on
I
it?
have not
Okay.
told anything about that.
All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Doug for a final prayer.
Thank you, Jan. Please go with me just for a moment as we close the service today. I want to go back to where I first started. Write on your heart that today is the best day ever. Let's go forward this week knowing that deep within us, knowing that, feeling it. Today is the best day ever. Each and every day is a gift. Go in safety, go in love, go in peace that surpasses our understanding. Amen.